Hello, my dear addict friends. My name is Emily Sussman, and welcome back to my virtual universe of true love here. Today, we are continuing on with what I call Recovery Story Time, in which I read a chapter from my book, The Addict's Guide to Recovery, written by me and illustrated by the supremely talented Jessie Larson. Now today we are on chapter 11, Deciding to be Sober Right Now. And I will show you this illustration that Jessie did at the very beginning of the chapter. Deciding to be sober right now. My dear addict friends, the road of recovery is paved with a deluge of daily decisions. Should I make my bed? Should I go to that work party? Should I take the long way home so I don't have to pass the liquor store? Of course, life presents you with all the same choices, whether you're in recovery or not. But there's one critical difference that makes all the difference. When your addict is the one doing the deciding, you aren't making any decisions at all. See, every time you deflect the problem, or minimize your drug's impact on you, or engage in a futile bid for control over your drug, your addict claps its hands together in delight because that means you're looking the other way. Like a sugar-crazed kid with a distracted mom, it gets to reach its grubby little hand into the cookie jar just that much deeper for that much longer. Thank God your head is no longer stuck in the sandbox of denial. Now you understand that your biggest problem is your addict, and that the way you allow its power over you to expand is by feeding it your drug. As interminably powerless as you may be over your drug, though, the good news is that you don't have to let your addict do your deciding for you any longer. Your biggest step towards taking back your power will be the day you decide to stop feeding your addict in an unequivocal mass starvation. I'm talking about the day that marks your massive decision to make just one decision, the decision to be sober from your drug right now. Though I hope you will come to celebrate that day as your sobriety birthday, I want to point out that the decision to initiate the unequivocal mass starvation of your addict is not of the one and done variety. Especially in the first year or two of recovery, sobriety has to be a decision you make one day at a time. It's simply too overwhelming, too confounding, and too terrifying otherwise. Sometimes sobriety has to be a minute by minute or even a second by second decision. In that sense, your decision to be sober isn't one single decision at all, but a series of many successive decisions that will amount to building up your true self's power and diminishing your addicts. But I don't want to overwhelm you, because the only decision you have to be concerned with right now concerns the right now. What's that you're saying, my dear addict friend? That you're not ready to make the decision to be sober right now? If that's the case, then I thank you for your honesty. Feeling afraid to live without your drug is completely normal. We're addicts, after all. Being emotionally, physically, and psychologically dependent on our drug is what we do. I can assure you, though, that being honest about where you are, wherever you are, is the first step towards actually getting sober. Next to admitting powerlessness, which is also an act of brutal honesty. So if you don't feel ready to be sober, you can still start facing your fears by being honest about them with the kinds of people who get it. Just don't kid yourself that fear isn't the issue. Don't delude yourself that you have good reasons for choosing to wait until your birthday to get sober, or until the day after the 4th of July, or until New Year's Day, that old, "I'm gonna be sober this year, I swear," standby. Picking a date well into the future can only mean one thing: that fear is plunking you back down in the sandbox of denial, which is exactly where your addict wants you. So screw the idea of picking a sobriety date. Start with right now. First, though, a critical note. If your drug is alcohol or benzodiazepine meds or opioids, whether in the form of prescription pain meds or heroin, your first step towards sobriety must be a visit to a medical professional. Depending on the substance, the withdrawal symptoms from those drugs aren't just uncomfortable. They can cause seizures, strokes, severe dehydration, or even death if not medically monitored. You'll need a medical professional to evaluate your current severity of use, as well as your history of past withdrawal symptoms, to determine whether it's safe to stop using your drug on your own. If not, you may need to undergo a supervised detox and withdrawal process, which can range anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. That said, many of you will be able to get started on the road of recovery without going to an inpatient detox or rehabilitation program. It is my clinical experience that the majority of addicts who want to get sober do not require medical supervision during their withdrawal process. But do yourself a big favor and check with your doctor first. I'll remind you, though, that no one can do recovery by themselves. Going it alone is, by definition, not recovery. Remember, recovery is the process of learning to love your true self that recovering addicts help each other practice together. And nowhere is that more true than when it comes to your early days of getting sober. I say that because for most of us addicts, making the decision to be sober from our drug feels like taking a flying leap of faith off a tall, tall building. Where will I land? Will I be okay? What will protect me from my feelings and my problems when I don't have my drug anymore? You will need people who will surround you with a safety net of love and support in the midst of that flying leap. You will need people who can help you identify and endure the withdrawal symptoms you may experience as a result of not using your drug. You will need a lot of reassurance that you're doing the right thing, as well as reminders that the alternative to sobriety, resorting back to powerlessness, is no alternative at all. You will also need the hope these people will help you cultivate that you too can be sober and that there's a great life in store for you beyond your drug. While it's true that no one can decide to be sober for you, getting support from others is ultimately what will help you stay sober through all those right now moments. Especially on the days when fear threatens to overtake you and you feel like you're still in the midst of that flying leap off a tall building. What about all the unknown days stretched ahead of me, you'll think anxiously. Will I be able to stay sober through all of those too? And then you'll remember, I am not in free fall. I am on solid ground as long as I connect to the power of unconditional love I need to stay sober right now. Bam, that's it for chapter 11. Please come back next time for more of the Addict's Guide to Recovery, which, by the way, is available in Kindle and paperback form wherever online books are sold. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I don't know, that's it for me. Bye-bye.